Hey y'all, this is M. I'm just going to make a quick tutorial. This first video is going to be about how to install Blender, some of the 3D modeling basics, and then how to do the add-on as well. So if you're going to follow my tutorials, I use the Maya add-on. It makes this Blender kind of very similar to Maya. If you already know a good bit about Blender and how to, edit, like be in edit mode and everything, then you don't need to use the add-on, but this will just be the basics. If you ever end up transferring and learning Maya, or if you already learned Maya, it'll be very helpful so that you don't get confused with the hotkeys. But first things first, in the Discord or in the description of this video, there's going to be a link right here. It's going to be called Sushi's Master Doc. Click it. It's going to take you to the front page of the doc, which is very useful for if you want to be a 3D modeler or animator. There's like job postings and all that good stuff. And then you'll have all these other programs, but we're going to be in Blender today. So just go to Blender, and the first two things we'll need to download is Blender 4.4. Right now it's going to be 4.4, but when you click download, it's going to get you to download the 4.5. But I know it's working. You can download it even without that. Let's see. Yeah, it should be downloading up here. And then same thing with the Maya add-on. Just click 0. I want this. Put in your whatever email you're going to use. This is my spam email. Put 0, unless you want to give him some money. He made a very useful add-on, and he originally was going to sell it for money, so he made this later and it was free. So just click download on that. And once those two things are downloaded, we're going to watch, let's see, this video right here. I'll go ahead and highlight that for y'all. And it'll just go over how to set this up. We're going to do the exact same thing in the video.
Hello and welcome to the new install.
Oops. It's not going to be hard. It's very quick. He actually uses Blender builds. He links it here. The only issue with Blender builds is it doesn't have the 4-point version anymore, and a lot of these, because his add-on was made for the 4.3. At the time, it did not have 4.3, so I used 4.4. And now they don't have 4.3 or 4.4. They only have 4.2 or 4.5. And I don't really recommend using 4.2 because I'm pretty sure they updated the animation rigging in 4.4, which I think will be really handy for whenever we get into that. I do know that some of the hotkeys don't work when we get into the rigging, but it won't matter because by then we'll be very used to the controls. And I have some ways to get around that. So while that's downloading, I'm going to go ahead and go into the slideshow we did in class. So Laisha is my, I guess the co-director. She's also learning Blender with us. She already has a background in Maya. This is some of our work. This side is my stuff. This is my 2D drawings, ZBrush, and Maya. That's her 2D work, Maya and ZBrush. We've linked all our work in the art channel if you ever want to see our portfolios. Now this is basically what I just talked about. Download these two things. We're going to watch the video when they're installed. Now what is modeling? It is just polygons, I guess. So polygons are these faces and vertices and edges. You'll see this breakdown right here. There's tris, quads, and n-gons. 4-sided are quads, 5-sided, and over is n-gons. And n-gons really aren't very good for 3D modeling, so we try to avoid those at all costs because they probably won't work very well for most of our meshes. In the industry, they don't really take them. You have to have either in vertices or, in tris or quads. We'll sometimes use tris. Depends on what you're making. Like you can tell in this, it's mostly quads, but then sometimes it makes a tri. Just where they're necessary, but generally we keep it in quads. Several different ways to make the typology of something. This is all the same object, but all the typology is different. There's some that are really good, and there's some that's really bad. Generally, I would go for something like this. I know Blender, there's several ways to make things smooth and such as well, so we'll go over that in a little bit later videos, but for now, the first video I'll be teaching you is about box modeling, and it'll be very simple. Now programs, what's ZBrush, Maya, and Adobe Substance Painter. This is stuff me and Leisha both learn in our animation classes. This is industry standard. Maya's like 2,000 a year. ZBrush is like a few hundred a year, and same thing with Adobe. It's just, they're very expensive programs, but if you want to go into AAA games, they usually make you use these. Blender is like all of it, and it's becoming more industry standard, especially for indie projects, and it can kind of do all three of these. Sometimes it's not as specified with certain tools, but I would say generally you can do almost all of that, and since it's an open source software, there's add-ons to make everything easier. Just like this Maya add-on, some guy just decided to make it so that it'd be just like Maya. That's the good thing about this, and that's why it's getting more and more traction every day. Game engines, this is what the other half of our club is kind of teaching. A bunch of the coders and stuff will be teaching Unity. There's also Unreal Engine and is it Godot? I think it's Godot. These are the other two really popular game engines. I don't really know much about that. I'm just the modeler. We might end up putting some of our assets in Unity one day, but we'll wait until we can get to that. Now, modeling workflows, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that we're going to be mostly doing hard surface for these intro classes because sculpting is fun, but retopology can get complicated, and I would want you to know the basics of hard surface before you get into retopology. So the only difference between the two is that one works from a high poly mesh that you change into a low poly mesh, and one works from a low poly mesh to a high poly mesh, which is generally just kind of the quality of work. The reason poly count matters is because if you get super high poly count, it's the laggier the game. If you want to 3D print, it can break your 3D models, like for 3D printing. So we try and keep it low poly. It's generally the best thing to do from animation or 3D. It renders way faster. You can kind of see like the workflow here of like, let's say you have concept art, then you start the modeling if you do sculpting. You simplify the sculpting if you start from high poly. And then we do UVs. And then we do, you'll see kind of here. So this is UVs here. You just kind of, basically what you do is once you start the model like this, you have to pretty much go in and take it apart like you would a package. So if you had to put everything on this base on a 2D plane, that's what UVing is. And we'll get more into it. It looks complicated. It really isn't. It's sort of just like cutting on faces. Whatever, you see all these red lines, that's the cuts that we made to unfold to this. But there's different ways to UV. It doesn't always have to be perfect depending on what your purpose for the model is. But this was one of the models I made when I first learned Blender. And this was whenever I got into the rigging and then the materials. You can see where the UVs had actually messed up on the back right there. And some of the metal doesn't reflect perfect. But yeah, we're going to wait until we get into materials. We really want to like drill in the modeling part because materials and rigging, all that, that's a whole separate process. And the better you all are at modeling, the easier the UVing and stuff will be. So by now you should have mostly everything downloaded. Hopefully, you can take a bit if you need. Yeah, so let's just go ahead and watch this video. I would please watch every step on this video just because if you do it wrong, you might have to delete everything and re-download it. So let's not do that.
For Blender config.
So now that we have everything downloaded, let's just go ahead and follow his tutorial. So he's going to go into his files. So my files are saved in, my game drive, but you just go to your program files. You all should have some if you're on Windows. It might be different for Mac. I know it still works on Mac, but hopefully y'all can figure out where your program files are. If y'all have questions about that, please ask the Discord. I know someone got it to work. Now that you have this open, we're going to find our Blender tab. Actually, let's make sure that we install this first. So once you have it downloaded, make sure you install it. So then you can see where it saves its program files. It should say the same thing in Mac. Install. I'll take a minute to install. Once it's installed, we're going to open it up, and then we can go ahead and watch the video on how to set it up once that happens. Once it's installed, please do not open the program yet until we have added the files into it, because this add-on is specifically adding scripts into it. So before you open the program, you kind of want to add those scripts first.
Blender installation, which would be off of blender.org. You'll locate that under local disk, program files, Blender Foundation, and then Blender 4.
Yeah, so he has different versions. We should just have the 4.5 version up. I know 4.5 works. The only thing I think we've had issues with is, oopsies, hold up, is the rigging. But I don't think that'll be too hard by the time we get to it. And if you ever want to switch back to the Blender original keys because you follow tutorials, then you can do that as well. Most of the way I learned how to model was actually, I linked all these tutorials, but the one I learned my base stuff from was this one. I actually have it, a step-by-step of what I learned written at the bottom. So this was the 3D cat tutorial. He kind of goes over everything I'm going to talk about, but with the Blender keys. So if you want to use the Blender base and not the add-on, please watch this. Though I do quite like the add-on for my workflow, especially when it comes to snapping to axes and viewpoints. So I'd recommend trying it at least. So this should be installed now. Program files. So let's go to program files. Should be some of these. Blender Foundation right here. 4.5. Just added that. Now you're going to see all this. This is when we're going to start getting into the scripts. So let's do, we're open 4.5 here.
0.3. We today are going to install to the Blender build. So I have that installed to my desktop.
Yeah, he downloaded his to desktop instead of program files. You can do that too if you want.
So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And then I'm going to go ahead and open up the...
So yeah, this is whenever we open the config. So this is the second thing. Oh, this is a zip file. So for Windows, Windows 10, it's a little different. You'll have to, I use ZZip, so, or 7-zip, I think. Open. Let me make sure I can open this. If you're on Windows 11, you can actually right-click and click extract. If you use Windows 10, you probably know how to do the basics of this anyways, but I'm going to go ahead and move this to be in some place I can find, which will be Blender Foundation. Actually, let's not add in the program files. I'm going to add in my art files. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to find that in my ZZip. So this is not for everyone. If you're on Windows 11, like a laptop, then you don't really have to do this. So it's not as complicated. This is actually my downloads. So let me get out of my downloads real quick. Yeah, I think that's drive F. And then I should be under Blender. So yeah, this would be what I would extract. Okay. All right, and then it should make a whole other folder with all the extracted stuff. So if y'all need to, if you don't know how to extract stuff on Windows 10, just download 7-zip and do what I just did. Most people who have Windows 10 probably already know that though.
Zip that I downloaded off of Gumroad, which when you open it will look like this.
So you'll see all this.
So before we used to install to a config folder that was contained within the 4.3 folder.
He's talking about his older version when he first released this, because he made this a few Blender versions back. Let's just do... I want to open this too. Let's open a a second one. Okay, now I should have two open. Program files, I'm gonna go find my Blender file again. Sorry, I have a lot of stuff downloaded. Here it is. Okay, great. We're in Blender Foundation. Let me go ahead and open my other one. Now we're looking at the same stuff he is.
So this new version is a little bit different. We have a portable folder, and within inside the portable folder is your config folder. And so I'm just going to copy and paste the contents of that portable folder into the main Blender build direct.
Okay, so what he's saying is once we have these two folders open beside each other, we're going to click on this. We're going to right click. We're going to copy. And then we're going to go over here. Let's not click on anything in here. We're going to click off to the side, so we're just generally in this. And then we're going to paste. Just click continue. And that should have added the portable file.
Directory. Okay. So, and within that contains your config, your scripts, presets, whatnot, your interface theme. And then I like to also put in the scripts. If we go to 4.3 again.
So once you go into 4.5, you'll have all these things here. You'll go into scripts. You'll open this.
Scripts, startup.
Yeah, now you go to startup. Should see something similar to this.
And then I'm going to grab all of these.
All right, yeah. Now we're going to open that thing back up. You know where we grabbed portable from? We're just going to copy these again. But this time we're going to paste it into scripts. So make sure you're not selected on any of these. And paste. I think that'll be fine. Continue, 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 continue. Alright, that should all be good now.
Copy and paste them in.
Yeah.
So that's there, that's there.
Now this is the
And then
important
we can
part.
go ahead and
Before you open it, make sure you run it as administrator. So we're going to get out of this. This would be our open.
open up Blender by right-clicking on it and run as administrator.
Yeah, so this is important. We always want to run it as administrator the first time we open it. So right-click, run as administrator. Click yes. Mine's going to be opening up to my other monitor, so I'll drag it over in a second. Alright, I think that just opened up here. Yep, okay. Here's what mine looks like. Yeah, you only have to run as administrator the first time you do it. You don't have to do it.
Now, once you're in Blender, you can right-click and you should see your marking menu, and then you'll know that your hotkey.
Yeah. So how you know it works if you right-click and this is here. Now, some of you might not have that, and this is what happens when you don't.
Stuff is working and installed. In the event that it's not working.
Yeah. Make sure you hold right-click, and if you see this, it's working correctly. The original Blender cannot do this.
You can go up to Edit, Preferences, go to Import, and then locate that folder where you have your Blender installed to.
Yeah, so let's go back and do that one more time. I'm going to go Edit, Preferences, and then an input, I think. Well, I might have been key map. Let me see.
Go to Import.
Yeah, okay, make sure you're on key map, and then click Import. Let's see which one he drags, actually.
And then locate that folder where you have your Blender installed to. I'm going to go here, go to 4.3, Scripts, Start.
All right, great. Since you already copied those scripts originally, you can go to that same save where we had copied them. So, Program Files, and then, where is this? Where's Rick? Where's Rick? Oh, here it is. Okay, great. And then we're going to click into that. We're going to go to Scripts. And we're going to go to Startup. And we're going to see all these. Import keys. Yeah, some of these might not work originally, but I think it should still be fine. Like, I remember having one error, but I think it'll be okay without it.
Startup. And then just select the FA hotkeys, or FA_hotkeys.py, and import key configuration.
Yeah, importing the key configuration, the hotkeys will definitely make it work.
Okay, so that should get you up and running for my config add-on. If you have any questions, be sure to leave it in the comments below, and I hope you guys enjoy the config. Take care.
All right, so that's all I have for this. Remember, the link for all this stuff will be in my description or in the Discord. If y'all have any questions, at me in the Discord. If you want to go ahead and get started straight into Blender, you can go ahead and watch some of these tutorials. Just know they won't be with our add-on. Our add-on will basically be doing the same stuff, just with different hotkeys, just to make stuff a little bit quicker. These keys make it a lot faster for most people, but it just depends on how you do your workflow. But that's it for this video. I'm going to go ahead and upload this one, and I'll see y'all in the next one.